There were a lot of crazy rumors flying around about the Daily Wire, things like the CEO, Jeremy Boring, bugging the workplace with microphones, trying to spy on the employees, covertly trying to replace their rising star Brett Cooper with her best friend and producer Reagan, then having Reagan going to acting classes so she could pretend to be Brett. It's not really clear how much of that was all true, but Brett left us with this bombshell.
Hey guys, some of you have heard the rumors online, and the rumors are mostly true.
Though that leaves some ambiguity, as we aren't exactly sure which ones don't fall under the umbrella of being false. And the Daily Wire fans could argue that maybe Brett was just trying to poison the well, because she felt a little embittered with her departure. Since most of us weren't there though, we can't say for sure what happened. But even if you are Team Daily Wire, you'd have to admit they made a very severe misstep, which breached the trust of their audience. Let me show you what I mean.
Welcome back to the comment section. I am producer Reagan, filling in again for Miss Brett Cooper, but don't worry, she will be back on Monday. And don't worry, Brett will be back on Monday. And don't worry, Brett will be back on Monday.
Sure, technically Brett was back Monday, but only to say goodbye, and her departure was already cemented. While you could argue this isn't a direct lie, it certainly is misleading, as it implies she'll be back to start a normal work week. This made many fans feel deceived, and the Daily Wire was trying to be conniving and tricky with them, which only left them to wonder, how tricky are they behind closed doors with, let's say, Brett Cooper? Now, as I previously mentioned, it is really important that even the most ardent Daily Wire fans admit that the company tried pulling the rug over Brett's subscribers. I also think, on a similar token, it's really important that the most ardent Brett fans, or even the people who are anti-Daily Wire, also take a second to realize that, there is a chance that the Daily Wire is a lot better than they think. And for, the sake of an intellectual exercise, I want you guys all, it doesn't matter who you are, pro or even possibly anti-Daily Wire, to just close your eyes for a second and pretend that, the Daily Wire didn't do anything wrong. For a moment, let's say that all the rumors about the Daily Wire bugging the dressing room with microphones to spy on Brett, with Jeremy conspiring with Reagan, the producer and best friend of Brett, to oust her, that they tried molding Reagan into a new Brett Cooper from scratch, that all of those things are false. What if it was just a menial contract dispute, that Brett felt she was worth more money than the Daily Wire was willing to pay? Now, if we imagine that is what actually happened, we do also have to admit that there is a possibility that that is reality. I mean, we don't really know what happened behind the scenes. We weren't there, and all the sources that were making these very shocking claims were people who didn't work at the Daily Wire and wouldn't tell us who their actual sources are. But since we're all in the dark and none of us were actually there, we just have to go off of what we've heard, even if the sources are pretty shaky, and also analyze the situation and try and contextually understand which rumors are true and which ones are false. And according to Brett, most of them are true. And sure, maybe you could argue that Brett just wanted to poison the well or something. That is a possibility. The Daily Wire claims that the split was amicable.
Final thoughts from the God King himself, Jeremy Boring.
Bittersweet indeed. We're sad to see Brett go, but we're excited to see her take the next step in her journey. Brett's an amazing talent, both as a personality and as an actress. It's been a pleasure to see her bring the comment section to life these last 3 years, and her performance in the Pendragon cycle is sensational. I'm certain that whatever Brett creates next will be filled with the same joy and laughter and heart that she's brought to all of her work at the Daily Wire. And we wish her nothing but the best.
The Daily Wire claims that the split was amicable, but they also claim that Brett would be back Monday. And sure, she technically was, but that was her last Monday, and the connotation from that phrase is that she would be staying. In other words, the Daily Wire already tried pulling a fast one. Could their audience really trust them again? Many people were already feeling like they'd been duped. And now they would analyze the Daily Wire's every move with more skepticism or perhaps even paranoia. So despite the fact that all of those rumors are false, they are going to believe them. Even if the Daily Wire does have good practices and if they treat their employees well, public perception is the opposite. While we can't say for sure which rumors are true, we have Brett's word, which paints a disturbing picture. And sure, we also have the Daily Wire's word too. But can we really trust them after all of this? The people at the Daily Wire aren't the first people to lie like this. Eric July, a prominent self-proclaimed anarcho-capitalist, did something very similar. One of Eric July's trolls drove all the way to Eric's warehouse and did something that shook the internet.
Yeah, I make the argument, and certainly everybody here is making the argument that for sure, definitely considering at nighttime, that is criminal mischief, right? Definitely because he's writing on stuff and he's putting notes up and all that good stuff. And in Texas, if you don't know, you can by the way, and this is not anything that I'm advocating, right? I want to be very clear about that. But, definitely because we're talking about the legality of deadly force and all that good stuff in Texas, you're committing a criminal mischief at night, you absolutely have the right. It's right there in Section 9 of the Texas Penal Code. And, you can read it verbatim. It specifically addresses you being able to use deadly force for someone committing criminal mischief at night on your property.
I remember hearing that, and I was filled with so much shock and disbelief. Did someone really drive several states away and vandalize a man's business just because they didn't like him? I started to imagine the many horrible things that could have been spray painted on his walls and windows. But little did I know that this story was much different.
All right, Eric, ignore those super chats, you son of a bitch. Eric keeps ignoring my super chats, so I brought him $50. I also vandalized his building with these stickers. We'll see what he has to say about that.
In case you didn't notice, Riley didn't spray paint or deface Eric's warehouse. All he did was tape money to Eric's window. Not only did he abstain from doing any damage, he also gave Eric something of value. Sure, you could argue that Eric wasn't lying since he never directly said that Riley caused permanent damage, but how else are you going to interpret Eric's claims? Then a little later, Nick Rekieta managed to squeeze the truth out of Eric.
The funny part about law is there are disagreements over stuff that many people find obvious. And I got to take one issue with you just on the criminal mischief, which is what Texas calls vandalism. Criminal mischief almost always requires some level of damage or burden on someone. So I think you're running a real risk with suggesting that stickers on a window is going to come out to be criminal
According
mischief.
to the penal code, though, it specifically says markings include inscriptions, slogans, and drawings. That's all.
Yeah.
So whether it's damage, if you're talking about damage, yes, that's included. If you can break the window and do all that good stuff, obviously that is completely obvious. And, I'm willing to accept a disagreement, but certainly our guys on that side don't see it that way. And to be honest, I think that's what matters. However, and it's not like, again,
it's not what matters though, because what matters is what a prosecutor sees, right?
Exactly.
And how the law is played out. And so I'm gonna offer a mild rebuttal and simply say that inscriptions, markings, and stuff like that is referring to graffiti, to marker, to something that's actually applied to the property that would take some sort of effort to remove. And if you read a little farther into the statute, you'll actually see them explain that there has to be some sort of pecuniary loss or economic burden in either the damage to the property or the removal from the property. And mere incidental annoyances in removing something like a sticker doesn't usually measure up. Now, of course, there are some stickers, right? That a huge sticker that you slap on, you got to hire someone to use solvents and shit to remove it. These look like relatively small stickers that would pop off without any effort. I think you'd be on real shaky ground. Not you, sorry, you weren't there, but anyone would be on real shaky ground trying to justify putting a hole in someone over those stickers, or even suggesting that a prosecutor would, or a cop even would write an infractionary ticket on this misdemeanor offense. There's no way, man. It's not spray paint.
And that's when my eyes opened and I realized that I couldn't trust anything the man said. And I'm not the only one. Plenty of others have a similar experience. Eric previously earned $3.75 million on his comics. It's no wonder he hasn't come anywhere close to that since he tried duping his audience. And as crazy as it sounds, it's only scratching the surface. If you're interested in learning more, feel free to check out this playlist of my docuseries on Eric July's Meltdown, or this episode over here where Eric tried tricking his audience into thinking his warehouse was damaged, and that he had the legal right to murder the guy who taped money to his window. Anyway, thanks for watching and let me know how you felt when you realized a YouTuber was trying to dupe you. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe, or...
You are a hoe ass